JHS pedal, the dramas, it keeps going, sort of. I mean, we want to talk about the confused narratives that happens when you don't really know what you're talking about sometimes. And we've been a party of this too.
What?
It's been about us.
Yeah, no, it's
We've
true.
done it too. We've done it. But we admit it pretty quickly when we goof up and we're like, oh crap. But we want to talk about what's been happening with all that and how it sort of affects, manufacturers, retailers, resellers, whatever you want to call them, guitar stores, and everybody else out there. So my name's Baxter.
I'm Jonathan.
And we're here at Casino Guitars. Thanks for joining us. So if you haven't been staying tuned there's been some videos about JHS and the Ross pedals and all that stuff, right?
Yep.
And then we had, then Josh Scott had to do a response video to one YouTuber's talking about how much money that they made, and it sort of went without any of the facts in it. It had sort of basic facts. Some of it had facts.
So, well, I mean, the premise of that video was is JHS ripping the customer off,
And what was nice about both of these videos, neither one of them were trying to really be horribly dunking on anybody.
Stick it to
It was cool.
The other guy. Yeah, no.
And so I advise you to watch those. It's just talking about the sort of cycle of developing a product, releasing the product to market, all the hidden costs and that. We'll get into that, but we want to talk about the overarching idea of how all business works, the business-to-business model, the direct-to-consumer model, the differences in that, why it's good, why some are bad, how it affects you, how it affects us, how it affects the guys putting these pedals and these guitars and these amps together. That's the idea, right?
There you go.
Let's dig right into it. So first off, making a new product and bringing it to market and launching it is a very expensive thing usually.
Yes.
It can, especially if you're doing it at the scale of something like JHS, but let's take that's a small maker, let's take it up to Boss, or let's take it up to Fender, or let's take it up to Gibson and PRS and Taylor and Martin, all the big makers that we deal with every day. When they bring a new product, guitar, pedal, amp, whatever it is to launch, there's a lot of money behind it.
Yes.
It's not just the cost of if you disassemble your pedal or your guitar, I can build this myself. That's the thing we hear a lot. Yeah, I can build this guitar. I just have to parts cast it.
Right.
And that's a fun project, right?
Sure.
No, we have to look into let's look into a manufacturer. Let's take it really small, like JHS, not belittling saying they're small, but compared to Fender,
They are.
pretty small, you know? It's like us compared to Sweetwater. It's not even the same.
Or even a Wildwood somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it's small. That's just what it is. Gosh darn, why have to be so small compared to Wildwood? Sad, it's depressing. Anyway,
we are.
No, so development, this is something that still boggles my mind every time I see one of those things too where people are like, well, this is $5 this, $10 this chassis only costs this. Well, let's break that down. Let's talk about guitars for a minute. When they want to make a part for that guitar, they have to make a machine to make that part.
Yes.
There's no so if Fender's building a Fender Stratocaster, they don't go and order from Stratosphere a bridge and a neck. They build a machine to build the bridge, to build the saddles, to build the screws. Every part is made there at Fender. There's a machine room at Fender that makes the machines to make the parts for the people to make the guitars.
Which is cool.
Which is really cool. That's one of the coolest parts of Fender. That I forget that. Don't you?
No, I do. Specking out the custom shops reminds you of some of those things, right? Because you're kind of a little more hands-on with that part of it. Yeah.
Or
and you realize,
bridge.
oh no, you guys make this thing. And there's a handful of boutique builders who do the same thing. They sort of fabricate everything that they do. But then there's a lot that don't. They are ordering.
Well,
stuff,
that's the difference too. You look at something like JHS, where they have to make a mold to make the casing, and the mold I think on one of these pedal runs might be $15,000 to have that all built right. And then you make it on that. It has to be sort of built into the cost structure of all the pedals, all the things coming out. It's an expense. We're not even getting into the parts of, let's say Fender owns its factory, and let's say JHS owns its building. They have to pay the building taxes on it.
Right.
They have to pay the insurance on it. They have to pay the workforce is the biggest cost structure.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. There's not to mention all the research and development, right? It kind of reminds me of the little meme that goes around where you talk about hiring a band, and it's like, well, try to hire a plumber, and the band, put in X hours to learn to play for 20 years, and blah 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 blah, and all that. It's the same idea, right? It doesn't all scale exactly 1-to-1, but it's the same process. Like JHS didn't say, you know what, I'm going to make this blah, blah, blah pedal that didn't exist. Now, obviously, it's a little different with like the Ross stuff because they are recreating a thing.
But what they did, what I respect about that is they were doing everything USA build.
Yeah.
And that's the thing a lot of people didn't know, and a lot of, like, I think some of us didn't know that even at Casino Guitars. And that's like this, where a lot of their competitors are creating with, overseas built pieces, which doesn't make it worse. It's just it's a choice you make to, like, I want to make this all USA build components and be able to build this in the great state of Ohio, Iowa, North Carolina,
wherever.
California, wherever you're building it. There's so much hidden cost in it. Now, a part of business that is confusing for people when they were talking about the structure and the numbers was that there's business to business, which is how most business is done, and there's direct to consumer, which is a newer sort of thing within the music retail and music industry space.
Right.
And that we've seen it kind of happen in small scales and go away, but let's talk business to business first. So that's when, the guitar manufacturer, JHS, Fender, Gibson, Taylor, Martin,
Whoever.
They make a guitar, they sell it to the retail shop, us, Sweetwater, Musician's Friend, Guitar Center, like Wildwood, at X amount of dollars.
Yes.
Now we take that, we market it, we warehouse it, we sell it, we promote it to our customers, and we sell it for Y. So it's X plus profit Y. That's the margin spread. So they're having to sell it for a reduced price of what they would sell it direct to you, if they want to keep that map sort of range.
Because they're not selling to like the end user. They're selling to, we are, right? So it makes no sense for us to sell it unless we also can make money.
Now, it does switch back, right? Like if you look at like a major manufacturer selling DTC, direct to consumer, they are selling at the same price as us, the reseller. So they prefer to do that because they're making a lion's share.
Right.
They don't have to worry about the profit margin spread they sell it to us for. So there's not a ton of it either. A lot of people think, when you come in here to offer discounts or let's talk about let's not even talk about when we offer this. Let's talk about manufacturers offer discounts
Right.
via the resellers, the shops. It's sort of a forced thing, not necessarily, but you're heavy-handedly encouraged to do it because you want to sell through your pieces. Everyone else is doing it. You have to dump it for, let's say there's a 15 to 20% sale right now, which has never happened in the industry except for the past year and a half.
Right.
Where they do this thing, and it's sort of you need to play ball and do that, and then you'll sell through your stuff that we've overbuilt.
Because you don't want to get stuck with that stuff either. You know what I mean? Like we don't want it to be sitting 2 years from now, or 3 years, or 5 years, or 10 years, or that's how you go out of business.
Now the shops don't always. It doesn't always work out well. Even if you do sell it, like you're just taking that hit.
Right.
The only way you get any benefit back is if you direct one-to-one replenishment order on that.
Yeah.
To where it's like, you get a little bit discount on the purchase, but not to the extent of what you're discounting it at.
Right.
So in general, you're just doing it to clear what they have overbuilt and what you have overbought.
Yes.
That's sort of that sort of idea. It's complicated, isn't it?
It is complicated.
But
Which gets into the whole thing of like, pretty cool that Josh bought all those pedals back. Like that was interesting. You know what I mean? And not typical.
That is not typical. That's
No.
really crazy. So not only did he, let's say he had this profit that this one YouTube video was saying about the JHS pedals and the Ross, he had to go back and buy it back from the manufacturers or dealers. I'm sorry.
Dealers from the dealers. Yeah.
But he is the manufacturer. Buy it back from the dealers, and then lose that. And then resell that for a reduced price. So it's a pretty big loss because there's over 1,000 units out there in the dealer network.
Well, it's not. It's. I almost imagine you have to think about every time that transaction happens too. Like you lose a little bit here, shipping, freight, whatever you want to call it. There's just all these things. It's just more than people think.
Well, and some people might ask too, is like, why don't all companies just go direct to consumer? Like, the big boys are all doing it right now. They all transition that way because they were suffering. That is the thing. And now their direct to consumer businesses have dropped dramatically over the past year. It's not something they release in the public. It's something you have to study and see it. It's been a huge drop. Their DTC has not done as well as they wanted. It's been what some might call an internal disaster.
I mean, we've seen small companies that we know personally where they are trying to get to where they can sell through dealers, but it's when you're bringing a new product to market, it's tricky to get the margins to where you can actually sell it to a dealer, make a little money. The dealer has enough, you know.
Well, and the dealer also has to, if it's a new product coming to market or a new brand, we have to create the demand for it.
Because there is none.
There is none. You don't know about Snoofle Doofle Amplifier Works or something. That's a great name for it. Don't steal that.
Don't.
No, but
Tucking it right here.
So besides, like, you know, you would think like, well, you know, something like JHS would just could go DTC, direct to consumer, because they're already known. They don't want to do that. They love the dealer network. Most of the great manufacturers and builders love the dealer network because they know no one would know about their brand without the dealer network. That's what sort of spread the word for it in the beginning. And
Well,
there's a thing called loyalty.
I would think, and you tell me if I'm wrong because you know more about some of these things than I do, but you know, if you're manufacturing a thing and all you have to do is sell it to a retail shop or a network, and then you're done, that's your thing, just make the good product, sell it. If you're selling direct to the consumer, you got to have someone to talk to those consumers. You got to be able to ship it to them. You got to be able to take returns and when there are problems and warranty. Like
we just handled a return right before this video.
Right before, I mean, literally.
Somebody came in to return a guitar that he swapped it for another one. It was fine. It was just he thought something was wrong with it. Nothing was wrong with it, but that's okay. That's part of the deal. He just didn't like it
for the manufacturer. But so yeah, I would think if it was me making a thing, I would like the dealer network as well.
Well, it's all the dealer network is what creates. It's not just the advertising and the YouTube videos that we all make and the Instagram things. It's the organic buzz. It's the talk, the players playing.
Right. Well, we talked about this before. The community that gets built around local shops, you know, places you can walk into and you see a thing and you see who's using it and what's good and what's not so good, and you can tell what people like and what it's just, you know.
Well, we just had one of our favorite amp builders was just here on Saturday. I don't even have to told you about it. Steve Carr was here.
I saw our other friend. Sean, not our Sean, the other Sean's picture of meeting him.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I was like, wait. And it took me a moment to realize that it was in the shop. I was like, oh.
There's like three Seans that went through my brain when you said it.
There's
Like,
lots of Seans.
No. So Steve Carr was just down here with his lovely wife, and they were. I won't say her name because I don't want to like let the public know who that is. They'll be stalking. And I think they were impressed and happy to see like a thriving, busy, small town retail shop that like has people coming and playing things. He got to interact with customers about his amplifier just by walking through the door.
That's cool. I would have actually, I hate that I missed him.
No, it's exciting. I imagine for a manufacturer because like they live in their little box,
right.
And they build things and then they don't often interact with the world at all.
Yeah.
Because Steve Carr does not have a YouTube channel like,
no,
the JHS pedals does and that whole thing. So it was cool for me to get to hang out with him and talk about business, talk about guitars, talk about Star Trek, things we're passionate about.
I would imagine if you're to the level that it seems that he cares, because I think he does. You can just tell even with his little manuals he does with the amps, right? Like obviously they're his babies. I think he would have to enjoy seeing them in the wild, being presented in a good way that he probably envisions. I think that would be cool.
I think it's cool too, and like he could have pride in how his pieces were presented,
right.
Pride in like his pieces standing up next to other things, and I think his amps are some of the best amps made in the world today. So I'm very proud to be a part of that sort of dealer network of his now.
They are very impressive.
And I own 2 of them. I'm going to own more. Now, jumping back to the beginning a little bit, what I'm hoping people take from this is when you are at home and you're looking at these pedals, you're looking at these guitars, these amplifiers, yes, you could build them yourself, but remember the cost that these, not just the legacy manufacturers, these new startups have to put in to make something and bring it to market. Well, let's talk about our friends at Marla Amplifier. That dude's going to be a road warrior, and he's driving to shops all across the Carolinas trying to create a dealer network. That's not free.
No.
I mean, I know gas is super cheap right now.
Yeah, man, nothing. Pennies.
But no, it's like that's not. It's time too, and it's a lot of no thank you. Probably 95% no thank you. And it doesn't matter how nice you are. It doesn't matter how cool your new product is. You have to convince a retail shop that they can sell it, they can make a profit, and you got to convince them they want to sell it.
And even if you convince them of those things, it still just might logistically not work for them. I mean, it really is an uphill battle in that regard. It just is.
Well, there's a lot of great brands that I would love to carry, but we can't carry.
But we have a finite amount of space, right?
There's a budget. There's manpower. Our brain power is limited. We
right.
We can't learn it all. We try to learn most of it, but
you can't spread that thin, But
we're what some people would consider stupid.
yeah,
And so we have to be very careful about what we take in.
that's true. We are just musicians.
I hope that enlightens a little bit. Like just
Hopefully it does.
just the idea of, like, how difficult it is to bring a thing, how expensive it actually is, all the underlying costs. You might think it's a chassis, a circuit board, and some wires, and that's your thing. It's the people that are being paid to build it. It's the insurance. It's the royalties you might have to pay, like in Ross. Even Fender, like in their relationship with Gretsch, it's a weird sort of thing. Like they got Jackson, Charvel, EVH, all the things under the umbrella, but there's also royalties that still have to go out.
I think it would be nice in this whole scenario if instead of taking sides and JHS is ripping us off, or I hate the John Nathan Cordy guy, he's misinformation. It would be cool if we said, oh, we all learned something neat.
I thought the response video was fantastic. I don't normally watch those videos.
Talking about Josh's response?
Yeah, I thought it was really.
I thought it was
cool.
Well, Josh seems to be great at those things, right? And I haven't watched the other guy's response back, but apparently it's pretty darn good too. So that's all. Everyone seems like they're being kind and nice, which is good.
I mean, actually, I don't watch as much YouTube videos as people think I watch. So these are sort of new to me. I was like, this is cool. I get to see like a guy be kind.
It would be neat if I saw one of the comments I saw just scrolling was like, I wish we'd all stop thinking every single business is out to get us. Which it is easy to fall into that, right? It really is.
I think especially these small businesses, they're really not.
they're not.
Even the large businesses, the business itself is not. Maybe some of the CEOs are. You have to look at the way this ship is being steered sometimes, and sometimes it's got someone that's got a bad heart there for the moment. In general, most of these companies are made up of people.
Even when there's not like the most altruistic thing, it's not necessarily bad. It's just, we got to make money, which can lead into bad and greed and all that kind of horrible stuff. But
and like I believe in capitalism 100%. I do. Yeah. But I also believe there's a point where you got to hey, not so you got to stay in your lane, but every manufacturer we deal with, they always want what the other person has.
Yes.
They want to. Why can't I have the acoustic guitars like that company? Why don't I have amps like that company? Well, I need to have pedals too.
Right.
And sometimes you're just a great guitar maker.
Yeah, that's
Let's be happy with it. You're a great amp maker. You're a great sous chef. I don't know. It's not about knowing your place, but it's be the best at it. Develop it and become the most famous sous chef in the world. If you haven't seen the movie The Menu, it's one of my favorite cooking movies. Besides Chef, that's a great one. But The Menu's a wonderful movie. Don't look what it's about, and just watch it, enjoy it, love it. It's fantastic.
There you go.
Got the pretty girl from the Queen's Gambit in it too.
Perfect.
That's it. I think that's it.
That's it.
I'm gonna go talk about something else now.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. Click like, subscribe.
Hit the bell.
As always, peace be with you. Enjoy your guitars and your pedals and your amps and your toys.